Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng had been reading it for half a month, and he sighed, shaking his head. What a shame. A peerless great being just died like that. If he'd had more time, he could have transcended incarnation and created another holy land. Unfortunately, that last step. He got stuck at the last step. It was almost impossible to transcend incarnation. Otherwise, there would have been more holy lands. Jiafanzi only comprehended the most basic material of water and fire origins. He hadn't even fully comprehended it. If he had, he might have transcended incarnation already. If someone's able to comprehend further, he'll be incredible. If someone can fully comprehend the whole thing. Luo Feng could help but exclaim. It was a powerful and special technique that pointed to the origin. Actually, even turning from true gods, universe supreme masters, to high-level beings didn't involve universe origin mysteries like life reproduction. Jiafanzi had tried to study techniques that were far beyond his level, so he had failed. He studied it for 3 universe eras and still failed. However, Jiafanzi's technique offers a unique path. After I become a true god, this water and fire origins will be helpful to me on fire and water when I try to transcend incarnations. Since Luo Feng had obtained the inheritance from Duandong River, he knew exactly what he should do. He would become a true god following the godly power path. After becoming a true god, he would use all the 10 basic laws: gold, wood, water, fire, mud, light, thunder, wind, time, and space, to condense a void space. Water and fire origin could help a bit as well. Actually, starting from all the 10 basic laws was the most efficient way. It was easier to use all 10 basic laws. As for Jiafanzi, he only used fire and water, so he had encountered too many obstacles and had finally died. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng had collected many crystal balls and valuables. At the same time, the mind in the virtual universe also told Primal Chaos City leader that happy surprise. Luo Feng, are you saying that Jiafanzi alone had 32 pinnacle true treasure palaces? And he had 91 ordinary pinnacle true treasures. Primal Chaos City leader was astonished. We didn't even get that many true treasures from Thunderstorm Star. That's far too many. Jiafanzi was at top tier level 10. Luo Feng exclaimed. He left those valuables because he wanted me to spread the inheritance. Undying fighters could already practice inheritance. As long as someone fully comprehended the water law and fire law, he could start comprehending water and fire origins. Based on the records, it was possible to reach the level of a limit universe supreme master. As for transcending incarnations, Jiafanzi hadn't succeeded, so that task fell on the shoulders of future generations. Jiafanzi left so many true treasures, so that future generations could continue his inheritance. We'll definitely help. There were only 20 universe masters in the human race. It was more than enough. However, there will be more and more universe masters in the human race, said Primal Chaos City leader. We need to think about the future as well. I'll leave all that to you, teacher. Luo Feng smiled. I'll start practicing now and adventuring in the 3 lands of extremis. I'll send those valuables back to the race shortly. A great being could only use a certain number of true treasures. Jiafanzi had too many true treasures, so he could only leave them in the storage. Luo Feng had obtained many true treasures this time, so he would leave several for himself, giving all 4 of his godly bodies better weapons and armors. However, he alone couldn't use that many true treasures. He would rather leave them to his race, like Teacher Origin and Huge Axe Creator. I'll start practicing now. Luo Feng took a step forward and walked out of the green keepsake space. Then he started to tour the 3 lands of extremis by boat of Mausoleum. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Time passed. 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. Time passed silently, leaving no traces. During practice, a few thousand years was like a blink of an eye. Boat of Mausoleum became a silver boat. Luo Feng took the silver boat to the lands of Extremis. He was well aware that he couldn't go too deep in the lands of Extremis, so he only ventured into the inner area. Sometimes, he would tour around at the periphery of the core ground, but he wouldn't go too deep. Luo Feng's chief intention was to practice rather than to adventure. Tilted Peak Sector was mysterious and variable. Universe Boat was a machine-type valuable, and there were billions of areas within it. There were still traces of an intact Universe Boat somewhere. But Flowing Level Mountain was like a maze. Luo Feng went back to the original universe once to distribute the true treasures during his travels. The 600,000th year after Luo Feng started to tour Universe Ocean in Flowing Level Mountain. Hong. Long. Long. The water stretched through time and space, and on a stone amid the water stood three beings. "It's getting more and more dangerous," a red rock life form roared. "A true treasure is about to be born. We'll see which one of us is more powerful after the true treasure is born. It also depends on our power." All three universe masters were looking forward to it. They were all nervous, and there was dimming light around them. Apparently, there was a domain true treasure covering the entire area. However, the domain could only cover a certain area. It couldn't cover the tumbling water. They couldn't tell in advance when the true treasures would be born. Hong. Long. The water, which had been moving recklessly, suddenly started to move normally. The water started to gather and spin. It connected the sky and land, and there was a waterspout. "It's right there." All the universe masters burnt their godly power and put all their efforts. A white boat burst out of the waterspout, which astounded all three universe masters. "It's Milky Way Horde Leader," shouted a black creature with many wrinkles on his face. The rock great being and the double-faced, four-armed great being were both shocked, especially the double-faced, four-armed great being. He retreated into a palace true treasure and tried to run away. A white boat. Rumor was spread through the three lands of Extremis that a human universe master, who drove a white boat, had appeared in some places where true treasures were born and had seized the true treasures. The three lands of Extremis were enormous, and true treasures could be born anywhere, yet Luo Feng had seized true treasures dozens of times. Luo Feng was as talented at seizing valuables as 5 universe supreme masters combined. He was so efficient because of Boat of Mausoleum. He was able to enter some dangerous places and claim the true treasures when the great beings were still waiting outside. The black creature with wrinkles and the rock-life great being stood aside and glanced at the double-faced, four-armed being trying to flee. Poor Yu Lan. Yu Lan Master was a universe master from Purple Moon Holy Land. For the past 6,000 years, Milky Way Horde Leader had been journeying through the three lands of Extremis. He sometimes appeared in Flowing Level Mountain, sometimes in Universe Boat, and other times in Tilted Peak Sector. He always showed up with a great shock. If he met a universe master from Purple Moon Holy Land, he would capture them immediately. Nobody knew whether he captured them or killed them. In the 6,000 years after Luo Feng killed Pei Xing Master, he had captured 3 more universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land. Even though most universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land had returned to the Holy Land after the news, some universe masters were reluctant to retreat. Instead, they stayed out and simply tried to be careful. Yu Lan has been very careful, and he only showed up because a true treasure is about to be born. We didn't expect that Milky Way Horde Leader would have his eyes on that true treasure as well. Milky Way Horde Leader must have been in the waters, so they couldn't detect him. Now that he has emerged, it's too late. The black, wrinkled creature and the rock life both sighed. Everyone knew that Milky Way Horde Leader wouldn't attack Universe Masters if they didn't mess with him. Milky Way Horde Leader only targeted those from Purple Moon Holy Land, the Fire Origin race, and the Dragon Rock race. Those from the Fire Origin race and the Dragon Rock race had already hidden in the miniature universes. Only those from Purple Moon Holy Land still dared to come out. "Stop fighting, Yu Lan Master." The white boat flew over, and a 9-story tower showed up and suddenly expanded. Yulan Master was trying to fly away from the abyss at the bottom of the tower. Star Tower started to suck it in. Yulan Master flew out of his true treasure palace and attempted to flee. Milky Way Horde Leader, Milky Way Horde Leader. Purple Moon Holy Land won't let you go. They never will. Luo Feng drove his star tower again and tried to absorb Yulan Master, who had previously targeted the true treasure palace. No. Yulan Master tried to get out, but he was still being swallowed. He became smaller as he got closer to the bottom of Star Tower and then was completely swallowed. A voice came from the white boat. 2. Sorry, I'm passing by, but I'll take the true treasure. The 2 universe masters standing at the top of the mountain were both humble. The white boat flew away. The white boat became black once it flew away. Even its shape changed. In the space of suppression of Star Tower, Yulan Master with 2 faces and 4 arms saw the 3 beings in the distance. The other 3 universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land saw Yulan and walked forward. Yulan. Why are you here? Yulan. How were you captured? A white-caped being appeared in the space of suppression. It was a young man with black hair. Milky Way Horde Leader. Luo Feng. All 4 universe masters, including Yulan, glared at him. The white-caped man shook his head and sighed. Don't look at me like that. It's not that I want to kill you. It's that your ancestor refuses to save you. Don't blame me. Luo Feng didn't kill any of the universe masters captured. He knew clearly that even if he killed them, there would be universe masters to be, who would become universe masters in no time. Purple Moon Holy Land was far younger than Eastern Emperor Holy Land and didn't have that many universe masters to be, but it could definitely have 8 to 10 more universe masters. So Purple Moon Holy Land wouldn't be affected at all. He figured he might as well just keep them as leverage against Purple Moon Holy Land. It's only a pair of wings, so it's only an ordinary true treasure to Purple Moon Holy Land. I can't believe your ancestor isn't even willing to trade it for 4 universe masters. Luo Feng shook his head and exclaimed. He's ruthless, too ruthless. He doesn't even care about you. All 4 universe masters were enraged. Milky Way Horde Leader, said North Chu Master, who was the most powerful out of the 4 captured. Don't waste your energy and time. Purple Moon Ancestor is our ancestor, so nobody dares to disobey his orders. He already knows you want that pair of wings, so no matter how many universe masters you capture, you won't be able to trade us for that pair of wings. Don't even think about it, Luo Feng. Yulan Master yelled. Our ancestor has already told us to go back to the Holy Land if we can't guarantee survival. We didn't do so, which is why he doesn't care about our lives. You want your wings? Impossible. Luo Feng shook his head and sighed. It's not necessary. It's just a pair of wings, and it's not going to help much with my power. 4 universe masters aren't enough for 1 pair of ordinary true treasure wing. That's not an ordinary true treasure, yelled Yulan instead. It's a component of an exceptional true treasure from the ancient civilization. Ah, Luo Feng sighed. Then you can just wait here. Luo Feng then disappeared. The 4 universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land exchanged glances. They looked around the desert space, disappointed, angry yet helpless. Luo Feng kept touring the 3 lands of extremists in Boat of Mausoleum. He had no idea what to do. The last pair of Shawu wings. Luo Feng exclaimed. It's almost impossible to get them. Based on what the captured universe masters had said, when he was sensing the wings outside Purple Moon Holy Land, a universe knight in Purple Moon Holy Land with wings also sensed that his wing was quivering. He was staying in an independent space of the Purple Moon Holy Land. Besides, the sensing distance was very large, possibly 100 million light years. That universe knight was dazed. If he could sense it from such a distance, it must have been an exceptional true treasure, which he, as a knight, was not qualified to be a part of. He immediately reported it to his teacher, Feng Hao Master. Feng Hao Master started to raise questions and asked many universe masters about who had felt the sensing lately. After all, they all belonged to the same power, so it was a win-win. However, he didn't find anyone with another component. Purple Moon Holy Land was the master of the Holy Land, so he knew everything that happened in the Holy Universe. Naturally, he knew about the wing, as well. He didn't care about it that much at first. Afterward, some great beings in the Holy Land traded away some ordinary true treasures using some secret techniques with those in Universe Ocean. With everything combined, and after Purple Moon Ancestor did some further research, he had a much better grasp of the whole picture. First off, Peishing Master had been killed by Luo Feng. However, Luo Feng had been in Universe Boat before, but Peishing Master was in Tilted Peak Sector. They were very far from each other. However, as soon as Luo Feng killed Great Thunderstar Tower, he must have headed to Tilted Peak Sector at the fastest speed possible and killed Peishing Master. Strangely, there were quite a few Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land in both Tilted Peak Sector and Flowing Level Mountain, and many of them had powerful true treasures. Why would Luo Feng go and kill a new Universe Master, Peishing Master? The time and the choice of victim both indicated that Luo Feng had been targeting Peishing Master. Peishing Master happened to have 2 pairs of wings. Second, the sensation had happened several hundred years after Peishing Master died, and it was around the time Luo Feng left Tilted Peak Sector. Third, some great beings from Universe Ocean tried to get some ordinary true treasures out of the Holy Land, which might be from the Hong Alliance. Fourth, Luo Feng indeed had true treasure wings. When he had first risen in the original universe, he had only had 1 pair. He had then obtained another pair. Some great beings had even seen Luo Feng with 3 pairs of wings, which meant he had acquired at least 2 pairs. Purple Moon Ancestor could tell that Luo Feng had his eyes on that pair of wings. And judging by the sensation, Purple Moon Ancestor could also tell how extraordinary that wing true treasure was. Tell Luo Feng to stop wasting his time and energies. That pair of wings will stay in Purple Moon Holy Land forever, and he'll never get it. Purple Moon Holy Land immediately told an avatar of a captured Universe Master, after confirming Luo Feng's intention. Luo Feng was deeply upset. Incredible. Purple Moon Holy Land had found out about it. Actually, it was understandable. Luo Feng knew that the Hong Alliance had proceeded discreetly. However, they had still left some traces, and so had he. Purple Moon Ancestor had learned of his intentions. Luo Feng started to do it in a blatant way. He started to capture Universe Masters. I'll keep capturing Universe Masters and threatening you with the lives of your Universe Masters. Will you be willing to trade them? Even though Universe Masters don't dare to resist Purple Moon Ancestor, given his prestige, they'll be upset. That means the unity within Purple Moon Holy Land won't be as strong anymore. I'll keep doing it. Even if I get the last pair of wings, I can't fully utilize it. After all, I haven't even fully comprehended the 3rd level of engravings on Shawu wings. Luo Feng didn't need to rush it. It was going to be a long fight between him and Purple Moon Holy Land. Time passed. Luo Feng journeyed in the 3 lands of Extremis. 90% of the Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land went back to the Holy Land after learning that 6 Universe Masters had been captured. Those who stayed out were very stubborn. They had eternal lives, and they had lived for so long that they weren't afraid of death. The pressure from Luo Feng only exhilarated them. In a remote area of Universe Ocean where no great beings had been before, a human shape larger than a miniature universe lay there, traveling millions of times faster than light speed. The chaos air gleamed under the friction coming from the high speed, leaving a long streak of light in the space. It kept marching toward the original universe. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. 100,000 years, a million years. Luo Feng had been traveling in Universe Boat for more than 8 million years when the giant object, which had maintained a speed that no Universe Supreme Masters could ever reach, finally entered the area where there were powers from Universe Ocean. Asterisk 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 asterisk. 8 million years was a long time for ordinary life forms. However, for great beings, 8 million years was only a blink of an eye. To Luo Feng, who had only lived for less than 200,000 years, not counting time acceleration, the 8 million years was a very crucial period for him, and it was the longest period of his life. He had been practicing in the space of inheritance for the past 8 million years, which was actually 8 million eras. Presently, he was still touring in the inner area of Universe Boat. At the same time, in a remote area of Universe Ocean, a being was teleporting itself. I haven't been to Flowing Level Mountain for a long time, so I'll go there now. Demon Beast Ancestor was moving forward relaxedly. He was the enemy of both Space Beast Ancestor and the two ancestors of the demon race. The United Forces Alliance and the human team were fighting now, and the human team was at a slight advantage, which pleased Demon Beast Ancestor. A terrifying streak of light flashed beside him. Under that horrifying speed, the shock waves stemming from the chaos air spread to Demon Beast Ancestor, who was still in the distance. Demon Beast Ancestor rolled over tens of billions of kilometers away. Demon Beast Ancestor opened his mouth wide with blood coming out. His body was covered with scales, and it was solid. Dark, golden blood flowed on the scales, and it looked at the golden flowing light in shock. This. He hadn't expected that only that shock wave could injure him, a Universe Supreme Master. If he had been hit directly, he would have died. What is that? What kind of terrifying being is that? Demon Beast Ancestor was bewildered. He roamed Universe Boat, and although he was at a disadvantage when fighting Dream Demon Ancestor, Shock Demon Ancestor, and Space Beast, because he didn't have Supreme True Treasure, he could still survive the attacks. He could have even put up a fight against Teacher Origin. However, that gigantic flying object terrified him and made him desperate. They were definitely not at the same level, and if he was hit by that human shape, he would be killed. A chance. An opportunity. A huge opportunity. Demon Beast Ancestor was excited. Any incredible incident might spell a chance, and based on what had happened, that gigantic flying object had an exceptional opportunity, and Supreme True Treasures were nothing compared to that. I need to seize that chance. Inheritance, great beings, or valuables, I need to seize it. Only after seizing that can I suppress the two idiots from the demon race and old beast god. I'll then rule the demon race and Space Beast Alliance. I will be the one true ancestor of the demon beasts. Demon Beast Ancestor was overjoyed, and he started to teleport. Shua. 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 He teleported 3 times and arrived beside the giant flying object. It resisted the shock waves. Compared to that giant object, Demon Beast Ancestor was like an earthworm looking at a star. Demon Beast Ancestor maintained a distance from that distant, massive object. He was resisting the ripples of impact acting against him while trying his best to see that object ahead of him. He could only make out, amidst the dazzling light produced by something flying at an exceptionally fast speed, a faint figure of a humanoid life form. This humanoid life form was so tall that its height exceeded 100 million light years, and there it was, just lying flat on the ground. No matter how powerful Demon Beast Ancestor was, no matter how he racked his brains, he could not come up with any idea of how he could see better. All he could see was an unclear situation before him. Then, shortly after, at a terrifically fast speed, the massive object vanished from the limits of Demon Beast Ancestor's scope of view. Humanoid life form. Demon Beast Ancestor stood rooted to his spot for a long time. God. In terms of size, this massive object was slightly bigger than a miniature universe, or even the Universe Boat. How could it actually be a humanoid life form? Even if a Universe Supreme Master tried his very best to expand his godly body, reaching the size of 1 light year already proved to be exhausting. The more a godly body expanded, the more their godly power had to be consumed. Besides, none of them had ever reached a size as big as 100 million light years. Moreover, it maintained a terrifying speed comparable to uninterrupted teleportation. It might be right to say that Universe Supreme Masters were able to overcome the speed limit, but the faster their speed got, the more of their godly power would be consumed. The pressure that their bodies were subjected to would also become stronger. Such factors accounted for why no Universe Supreme Master could achieve such a feat, and for a godly body to expand to such a massive size, its speed was bound to be reduced. Bigger than a miniature universe. And a speed that was beyond one's wildest imagination. No, it can't possibly be a living soul, nor a great being. There can't be a great being that is so formidable. Demon Beast Ancestor was in denial, unable to bring himself to believe that such a great being truly existed. How much more powerful would this great being be than him? A mere gaze could have seemingly destroyed him. It must be a strange object like the universe boat. The only difference is that universe boat took the form of a boat, and this object takes the form of a human. Demon Beast Ancestor willed himself to consider the manner, and instantly felt much better. Another universe boat. The moment Demon Beast Ancestor considered this, he felt the same suffocating breathlessness again. The three most dangerous lands. A long time ago, Universe Ocean had not been one of the three most dangerous lands, and the universe boat had not existed. The universe boat had only appeared much later. Another being that was at least at the level of universe boat. Demon Beast Ancestor was highly emotional. And no other great being has encountered it yet. I am the first. So long as I can grab this opportunity. Catch up with it. Demon Beast Ancestor was full of fighting spirit, and no longer worried about the dangers involved. After all, whether that was a formidable and terrifying life form or a strange object, nothing would be greatly affected. If it were a formidable and terrifying life form, seeing how it lay flat on the ground, it was either deep in slumber, or had been annihilated. If it was a strange object, then all the more, there was nothing to fear. After a long-distance teleportation, Demon Beast Ancestor immediately caught up with that massive object that was flying at an extremely fast speed. The massive object continued flying at the same speed, and Demon Beast Ancestor often had to teleport to a much further distance ahead of it to be in the lead. When the other party had overtaken him, he would, without further ado, teleport a great distance ahead to take the lead again. Change direction. Demon Beast Ancestor executed his endless domain-type true treasure, and a blurry black light enshrouded the surrounding region. Then he manipulated the domain under his control, and executed his most powerful secret technique. At that moment, close to 90% of a boundless domain under his influence converged to form a huge, fuzzy tail. This huge tail lashed at the massive object right away with a loud whistling sound. A prior calculation of distance had been made, and right away, the tail lashed out at the body of the fast-approaching massive object. The fuzzy tail was immediately shattered to pieces. Yet the massive object continued to advance. Seems like there is no change in direction at all. Demon Beast Ancestor was a tad bewildered. He had intended to change the direction at which that massive object was flying, which explained why he had hit from the side. Apparently, he had not dared to use a true treasure weapon to directly bombard the massive object. He had been worried that the impact of the rebound tremors alone would cause him to sustain another round of heavy injuries. This was why he had used a domain-type true treasure, so even if this domain attack were to be destroyed, he would not be greatly affected. At first, he had thought that this was a non-living object, so bombarding it from the side would have at least caused it to change its direction, even if only to a minor extent. Could it be because it is too big? Maybe that's why it was so stable even when flying. Demon Beast Ancestor muttered to himself. I'll try again. Demon Beast Ancestor teleported repeatedly in order to catch up with the extremely fast-moving massive object, and every time, he forcefully attacked it by its side. Almost every day, he would attack up to a few hundred times. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 years had passed. It is not as if my attacks have not caused it to change direction. My attacks did have some influence over it. It's just that the effect is very, very small. Demon Beast God was very worked up. I have been bombarding it continuously for more than 100 years in order to cause it to change direction by only a small degree. The magnitude of that change in direction was so minuscule that even I, a universe supreme master, can barely detect the change. Even a universe supreme master could barely detect it. How small a magnitude could that be? Furthermore, he had to spend more than 100 years of continuous bombardment against that massive object in order to achieve such a slight change in direction. Continue. I must bring it to a halt before other great beings discover it. Demon Beast Ancestor was filled with fighting spirit. He felt that he could still afford to be hopeful, as Universe Ocean was, after all, enormous. Normally, when great beings traveled about within Universe Ocean, they had to depend on natural wormholes. But under such continuous teleportation, based on the direction of that massive object, attempting to fly all the way to arrive at the primal universe would probably take at least 1 million years. The patience of a super great being was very strong, so even if Demon Beast God had to keep struggling for millions of eras, he would still do so with much patience, yet he had this incessant worry of being discovered. Although Universe Ocean was vast, other great beings still had to move about through the normal method of using natural wormholes. Therefore the chances of encountering this massive object were extremely low. Nonetheless, he was still worried. I'll continue to bombard it. Other than the 3 most dangerous lands within Universe Ocean, there are many other dangerous lands that are one notch less risky. Based on the direction of flight of this massive object, so long as he could bring it to change its course by a few degrees, it would have to pass through a particular dangerous land, Swirling Water River. Demon Beast Ancestor was looking forward expectantly as he continued to rain attacks on the massive object. There were many dangerous lands within Universe Ocean. The most well-known ones were the 3 most dangerous lands, and there were many other dangerous lands that were a notch less risky. For example, Sitting Mountain Guest's place of residence within Universe Ocean was one of the dangerous lands. Another 5,000 years passed. Now the direction is accurate. With an undying perseverance that could be likened to that of a worker, and gnawing at a huge mountain, Demon Beast Ancestor persisted for more than 6,000 years, and continued to bombard the massive object on its side. Finally, that massive object was made to deviate a little from its original course. This tiny change, coupled with the long flight distance, subsequently accumulated to cause a huge deviation. This would bring the massive object crashing into the dangerous land of Swirling Water River. There will always be many great beings in the 3 most dangerous lands. And the other dangerous lands that are less risky are seldom visited by great beings. As for the most common dangerous lands, there isn't a single great being to be found. Hopefully, there will be no great being in Swirling Water River. Demon Beast Ancestor prayed fervently. Another 3 years flew by. Swirling Water River. It was a river that rotated consistently, with a total of 12 huge radial arms flowing with water. Amidst the swirling water were numerous miniature islands. These islands were different in sizes, ranging from a few light years to a few hundred light years, or beyond. As for the size of the entire Swirling Water River, its largest diameter could be as big as 6 million light years. Of course, this was still a lot smaller than the 3 most dangerous lands. Swirling Water River's diameter is as wide as 6 million light years. Somewhere far away from the edge of Swirling Water River, Demon Beast Ancestor found himself a spot to settle down and keep watch from a far distance away. He had executed an extremely long-distance teleportation, followed by a one-time transit through a natural wormhole to rush over. This was how he had managed to arrive in advance. Swirling Water River is so huge, and that massive object's diameter is over 100 million light years, Demon Beast Ancestor was muttering to himself. The difference in size between the 2 is not too far off the mark. There is a possibility of stopping it with Swirling Water River. Although he was muttering about the possibility of a positive outcome, he was still aware that the chances of stopping it were slim. If he could not succeed this time, he was worried that it would be extremely difficult for him to get the massive object to change course and crash into another dangerous land again. Suddenly, the peaceful Swirling Water River, which was eternally rotating, had 12 huge radial arms of flowing water flow, each of which possessed unfathomable power. Speaking of power, it was more powerful than any other great being by a few thousand or even 10,000 times. This natural power was unbelievably terrifying. The history of its existence was even more ancient than that of the universe boat. At that very moment, a being appeared that was even more massive than the entire swirling water river. At a terrifying speed, the humanoid life form, with a towering height of over 1 million light-years, crashed mercilessly into swirling water river with loud rumbles. The 12 radial arms, which originally had been so strong and powerful, were crashed with such force that, within an instant, they were ruptured and scattered all over the place. A large amount of water splashed far out into universe ocean. Peng. 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 The little islands within swirling water river, upon being struck by such a high-speed attack, were like eggs exploding one after the other. What is happening? At that moment, in the deep water region of swirling water river, a universe master, who was maneuvering a top-tier palace true treasure, was in the midst of exploring through swirling water river. To him, exploring swirling water river was far easier and safer than exploring the three most dangerous lands. To him, this was a form of relaxation. Yet he suddenly felt the entire swirling water river trembling. Apparently, the high-speed crash brought about an impact that was so strong that the ripples could even cause this palace true treasure to tremble. However, this massive object was too fast to be seen clearly, and this universe master was only left with a glimmer of doubt in his mind. Soon after, the boundless, massive object whistled past in a fleeting moment, and this top-tier palace true treasure, which was even more fragile than the little islands before, instantly exploded. The universe master, who was inside the palace true treasure, was annihilated right away. An impact of such a level. Even a universe master wearing a supreme true treasure armor would have been annihilated, not to mention this universe master. It was sweeping up everything. It was like a vehicle flying through a puddle. The water splashed out in all directions, but the vehicle continued to zoom past the pool at the same rate of speed. Nothing had changed. The massive object was still advancing at an extremely terrifying speed. In an instant, it passed through swirling water river, causing this dangerous land to be reduced to fragments. Water splashed out into all corners of universe ocean. As for that massive object, it was still moving at that terrifying speed, rocketing past swirling water ocean as it left a trail of flowing light in its wake. Soon, it exceeded the limit of Demon Beast Ancestor's scope of view and vanished from sight. Demon Beast Ancestor stared at the scene before him, dumbfounded. He had fervently hoped that swirling water river could stop that massive object. Even if, in his heart, he had known that the chances were not high, he had nonetheless held on to some hope. Reality was always so cruel. Had the massive object reduced its speed at all? It was simply too fast. Even Demon Beast Ancestor could not judge, but the implications were clear. Even if there had been 10, or even 100 swirling water rivers in the way, there still would have been no stopping this massive object. Within the universe of the Divine Eye Clan's first True Master, an unlucky universe master reported to first True Master, recounting the events he had experienced. It was the swirling water river. At the time, I was still within my palace true treasure when I felt a strange yet terrifying tremor. I didn't have time to respond when my top-tier place true treasure was instantaneously ruptured, and my other godly body was annihilated within a fleeting moment. Teacher, this was what happened. A top-tier palace true treasure was shattered in an instant, said first True Master. He also felt as though something bizarre was happening. Swirling water river. This video will end here.